Women are pro-choice. Until a woman chooses to be sexy on purpose. Then the same people who scream, "My body, my choice," suddenly have a lot to say about how that body should be presented, how much skin is acceptable, and whether the woman in question is empowering herself or just catering to the male gaze. Jennie and Lisa from BLACKPINK have lived this exact double standard in real time. Their solo eras, stage outfits, choreography, and fashion choices regularly trigger waves of shaming from people who claim to support female autonomy, right up until that autonomy looks like sexual confidence they didn't approve of. This is not about protecting women. This is about controlling which choices count as valid. Pro-choice is supposed to mean a woman gets to decide what happens with her body and her image. In practice, a large part of online feminism only defends the choices that align with a specific political and aesthetic script. Dress modestly and talk about systemic oppression? Empowered. Wear revealing clothes, perform sexualized choreography, and lean into allure? Suddenly she's overly sexual, doing too much, setting women back, or internalizing the male gaze. The principle flips the moment the choice becomes uncomfortable for the observer. That is not autonomy. That is conditional approval. Jennie has been criticized for years over stage looks, music video styling, and red carpet appearances that show skin or project confidence mixed with sex appeal. The same voices that praise sex positivity in theory treat her actual expression of it as a problem that needs correcting. Lisa faces the same pattern, often more intensely. Her solo work, dance performances, and fashion frequently get labeled too sexual, inappropriate, or for the male gaze by people who position themselves as progressive. The criticism rarely comes from conservatives alone. A significant portion comes from women and online feminists who claim to support women's freedom, as long as that freedom stays inside their preferred boundaries. Both women operate inside K-pop's intense image control system and still choose, or are allowed, more provocative concepts in their solo eras. The reaction reveals the real rule. Sexual agency is celebrated when it matches the current ideology and policed when it doesn't. This selective standard exists because a lot of modern pro-choice rhetoric is not about individual liberty. It is about enforcing a collective aesthetic and political line. When a woman uses her body and sexuality in ways that generate attention, money, and power on her own terms, it threatens the narrative that sexualized presentation is only ever oppression. It becomes harder to maintain the story that women who look a certain way must be victims or traitors. So the language shifts from choice to shame. The same pattern shows up elsewhere. Women who choose traditional roles, women who get extensive plastic surgery without apology, women who date powerful men openly, women who reject certain feminist talking points. Support for choice evaporates the second the choice fails the ideological purity test. If autonomy only applies to the decisions you already agree with, it is not autonomy. It is permission. Jennie and Lisa are useful examples because they are highly visible, commercially successful, and repeatedly punished by the same cultural faction that claims to defend women's right to decide. Their case makes the hypocrisy impossible to ignore. The outrage is not really about protecting them from objectification. It is about resentment that they are not performing sexuality in the approved way, or that they are performing it at all without asking for moral validation first. You cannot claim to support women's choices and then shame the ones that involve sex appeal, confidence, or commercial use of beauty. That is not feminism. That is just a different set of rules about how women are allowed to exist. Are Jennie and Lisa being held to a standard that would never be applied to male idols or to women whose sexuality fits the current progressive script? Is pro-choice still the right phrase when so many of the choosers get attacked the moment their choice becomes visible and profitable? Drop the unfiltered take below. No purity tests. Just the observation. I'll see you in the next one.